He again is probably the most athletic player on this team. And
why you would use that, especially when one call.
Just a horrible, horrible situation for them.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Hello and welcome to another episode of TakeaSide presented by Sided Debates. We've got a great show for you today, but before we get started, be sure to get onto sided.co or the Sided Debates app to post topics, vote, comment, and engage with other users on the site to climb up that leaderboard for a chance at winning a $25 Amazon gift card. The more interaction your debate can get, the more points you earn, inching you closer to that top prize. With the combination of MLB, NHL, and NBA playoffs and the NFL draft coming up, now's a great time to hop on sided.co and start posting. Moving into our first debate, I am joined by Jack McGarr and Dylan Vanderveen to debate NBA playoffs. After the play-in games, the playoff bracket got set, and we got to see our first bit of opening round action. With all the superstars and legends in the playoffs without rings, which player and team is under the most pressure this postseason to win a championship? Jack, let's start with you.
Looking at teams, I think the best team in the NBA, best record in the NBA, top 5 offense, top 5 defensive team in the NBA, the Suns have the most pressure on them in this playoffs. Again, they're the best team in the entire league. Of course, they're going to have the most pressure on them in the entire league. The Nets right now, they're underdogs in the first round of in the first series that they're playing. There's no way they have the most pressure.
So the reason why I think the Nets have the most pressure is because if you think about 2 years ago, when this Nets team was built with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, this team was built to win, and this team was built to win the first championship in Brooklyn or New Jersey when the Nets were in New Jersey a few years ago. Neither one of those teams had anything to do with winning up till this point when they have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. This team, when they had James Harden, that didn't work out, but they got Seth Curry and Drummond back. They built a team that was still supposed to go deep in the playoffs. They just got Kyrie Irving back, and why I mentioned Kyrie Irving has a lot of pressure on him as well, because he won one championship with LeBron. He said he wanted to be the big dog. He hasn't won anything since then. He's now with Kevin Durant over in Brooklyn. They should easily have been a higher seed than this. If Kyrie Irving played the entire season, they probably are a 2 or 3 seed. But the fact that they're a 7 seed, they can go through Boston, which Kyrie Irving obviously has a lot of hate for, as we saw in Game 1, him flipping off the fans.
Multiple times.
He still had 39 points that night.
Yeah.
He really didn't let it get under his skin, but there's a lot of pressure on Kyrie right now. He hasn't played all season, only 29 games this season, scored 27 a game. If he plays like Kyrie Irving the entire time, then it's gonna be a different series than if Kyrie Irving played not like Kyrie Irving.
That's fair. I think right now CP3's got the most pressure on him in these playoffs. His nickname around the NBA is CP0 rings. He does not have a championship yet. He's been on Lob City with the Clippers. He was in Houston with Harden. They probably would have won that championship, honestly, if he just had stayed healthy. But he's proven every playoffs that he either chokes or he gets hurt. So he has to prove that on the best team in the league, the best record in the NBA, that they can go out and win a title, especially after going to the finals last year and losing to the Bucks eventually. Their team got better this year, adding a lot of depth on the bench. I think Booker has really taken a big leap. That's why CP3 needs to lead this team into they need to go to the finals first off, but they need to win the finals because CP3, being a first ballot already Hall of Famer, he needs a ring to really solidify his ballot in the Hall of Fame.
Honestly, there's a lot of guys that are looked at that never ended up having a ring. Charles Barkley, obviously being one of the big ones. Patrick Ewing, obviously being another one that never won in the Michael Jordan era. And that hurt them. Like that really hurt their legacy and not winning a ring. But I think they need CP3's experience more than anything in this NBA Finals. That is why CP3 is such a big player for him. Like he can still take over the game. Like the other day, he scored or had an assist in 19 to 23 points in the start of the fourth quarter. I mean, he took over in the fourth quarter, 17 points.
As he always does.
But why I say that, the Phoenix Suns are so deep, as we've talked about in the past. Cameron Johnson can come off the bench, he can get 14. You got JaVale McGee coming off the bench. Obviously, that's a big number. I don't have to talk about him. Cameron Payne's not bad either. Their starting 5, I believe, could be the best starting 5 in the league right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it really could be. And I don't think Chris Paul has as much pressure on him as the Suns do. But I think Chris Paul just can get carried a little bit more on this team than he has in the past, right? I mean, when he was in Lob City, he was a big player on that, but
Yeah.
he had to be the number one player. He had to be the next guy next to James Harden. He had to be that guy. But on this team, you got DeAndre Ayton down low, you got JaVale McGee down low, you got Devin Booker to your side of you as a shooting guard. You need the experience on CP3, but I think he has a lot less pressure on him as certain this season as he has any other season in the playoffs.
I think that's why I disagree with you there, because you just said it. He's got probably the best team he's been on, arguably. They've got one of the best starting fives in the entire league, probably the best depth in the entire league too. If he can't win a ring with this team, I think a lot of people, especially when we look at his Hall of Fame status later on, I think a lot of people are going to question his leadership and how well he can lead a team, because again, this is the best team he's got probably that he's ever played with in his career. If he can't win a ring with this team, I know that for a fact that's going to hinder his historical context, and especially the only reason he's not looked at as a top 5 point guard ever is because he doesn't have a ring.
Fair, but when I look at it, I just look at our shooting guard with Devin Booker, all-star. Mikal Bridges really coming to his own, obviously super durable, he's going to be there. Jay Crowder coming to his own there in Phoenix. DeAndre Ayton, also obviously a superstar center in my opinion. He's going to be a free agent this year. He'll get big money anywhere he goes. But when I look at that team, I think Chris Paul has pressure to win a ring, but I think he has less pressure in the playoffs right now than Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant on the Brooklyn Nets do, because they're supposed to win. They're supposed to like be those two guys that can win in Brooklyn. Chris Paul, he's a third guy for them, but he's there more for the experience. He could take over a game still, but he's the third best player there.
Well, I think with both of these teams' championship windows closing, I think they both have a lot of pressure on them right now,
sure.
especially those two players. But we'll see what happens in these playoffs, and we're going to send it to break.
From your first day walking up the hill to your last walking through the Campanile, we've got you covered. SAN connects you to everything KU. Opportunities on and off campus, KU traditions throughout the year, your Jayhawk classmates, and more than 350,000 alumni around the world. SAN is free for all students, so what are you waiting for? Sign up today.
Hello and welcome back to TakeaSide. I'm Jordan Ziegler, and this is my way too early MLB season predictions. Starting in the AL East, I have the Toronto Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays are absolutely stacked on offense with Vlad Jr., Kevin Biggio, Bo Bichette, and George Springer. But the part that's going to get them the AL East crown is going to be their pitching. Jose Barrios and Kevin Gausman are going to carry the load of this team, but Yusei Kikuchi could be a sneaky number 3 that helps the Blue Jays win a very tough AL East, with the Rays, Red Sox, and Yankees all competing on their tail. Next in the AL Central, I have the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox are the defending AL Central champions, and I think it's pretty clear they're going to do it again. They have great young talent with Luis Robert and Lucas Giolito, but the team has just been consistently good for the past 2 years, and no one's really going to challenge them in this division. The Tigers are coming up in the AL Central, but it's not time for them to take over the White Sox yet, and I think they're going to beat out the Guardians and the Twins, win about 95 games this year, and win a less than competitive AL Central. Finally, in the AL West, I have the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners haven't been to the playoffs since 2001, and it's finally time for them to break out. New additions like Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez are going to be huge for the offense. Rob Ue on the mound, Logan Gilbert, Marco Gonzalez, Matt Brash. That pitching staff is absolutely loaded. The offense is absolutely loaded with young guys like Julio Rodriguez and Jared Kelnick. The team is stacked. It's time for them to make a push towards the playoffs, and they're going to win the division this year because of it. Moving on to the National League in the NL East, I have the New York Mets. Now, this is a little bit laughable considering the Mets' history with failing to meet expectations, but with Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer on the mound in your rotation, you really can't pick against this team. deGrom isn't healthy right now, but when he is healthy, the Mets pitching staff is the best in the league, not to mention Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. With the offense, this team is really, really good, and they're going to beat out the Phillies and the Braves in a very, very competitive NL East. In the NL Central, I have the Cardinals. Now, I don't think the NL Central is a super competitive division. You have the Brewers and the Cardinals, and that's about it for competing teams. Now, the Brewers have one of the best pitching rotations in the league, but their offense is horrible. The Cardinals, on the other hand, have a great offense with a mediocre pitching rotation, and I think the thing that gets them over the hump is kind of the last season magic with Albert Pujols, Adam Wainwright, and Yadier Molina all playing in their last seasons. One last ride together as a team. I think the Cardinals get the job done in the NL Central purely for fairy tale purposes. Finally, in the NL West, I have the San Francisco Giants. I think the Giants repeat as NL West champions with over 100 wins again. This team is really good and they're managed really, really well. They play platoon baseball perfectly, and they just added Carlos Rendon to the pitching staff. The team is young, it's talented, it plays well. They're going to barely beat out the Dodgers, and they're going to be really, really good again. In the World Series, I have the Blue Jays versus the Giants. Now, the Blue Jays, a lot of people might predict, but the Giants, not so much. I think the Giants won the NL West last year, but weren't able to get past the Dodgers in the NL Division Series. I think that changes this year, and they make a deep run into the playoffs, into the World Series. And I think the Blue Jays are honestly just the best team in MLB, and they're going to show that consistently throughout the year and in the playoffs. The Blue Jays will face off against the Giants in a series that will probably go to 7 games if it happens. But ultimately, I think the Blue Jays take home the World Series championship with that young core and excellent pitching rotation.
Thanks, Jordan. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we have another MLB debate coming right at you. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. For our third and final debate, we are going to be talking about who is the most entertaining player in baseball. With the league season just starting up, who is the biggest must-watch name right now? I'm joined by Gus Balo and Kyle Mathis. Kyle, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think that the most entertaining player to watch in baseball right now is probably Shohei Ohtani. And I don't think that's to the surprise of many people at all. I mean, I think a lot of people see him and see what he's done, and they are super impressed. At least I am. Just a stat that I saw that just really surprised me, at least, is that as a pitcher last season, and I know I'm using last season stats, I'll get into 2022 stats soon, but last season he went 9-2 on the mound, and he also hit. He was third place for most home runs hit in the MLB as a pitcher, which is just unreal. 46 home runs in the season. So I don't know. I just think that's my first point. I know you have a different player in mind. So who do you have in mind?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm happy to be on TakeaSide. This is the first time I've been on TakeaSide since I've been at KU, so I'm happy about that. And thank you guys for letting me join today. Probably the player that I've been looking forward to, and I'm a Red Sox fan, so this one hurts me to say this, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. might be one of the most exciting players in baseball right now. You look at what he's been done already, 5 home runs, 10 RBIs. He's tied for first in home runs currently with 5, and he has the 10 RBIs, which is good for 5th in the MLB. The way that he plays and the way that he shows excitement every game, he is one of the most fun players to watch in all of baseball. There's no question in my mind, at least who I think who's the most exciting player to play. He may not be the best player to watch in baseball. There's obviously other players like Ohtani, Mike Trout, other guys like that who have had really good stories. But to me, Vladimir Guerrero is so exciting to watch, and I always love watching him. Every time he steps up to the bat, to the plate rather, there's a chance it's going out. And there's no question in my mind who I think is probably right now the most exciting player.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, Toronto's a great team, and I think that they're led by him for sure, especially in their little playoff push that they had last year. And I just think Ohtani, I'm just looking at his 2022 stats right now. He's had 44 appearances at the plate so far with 10 hits and 3 home runs. So I think that right now, yes, Guerrero is the player with the most home runs in the MLB. But Ohtani, like I said, is a pitcher, and he almost has the same amount. He's just 2 home runs behind. And also, I think Ohtani is a great catalyst for Asian players coming into the MLB. He's from Japan. we don't see really many Asian players. We see a lot from the Caribbeans and a lot from the United States as well. But I think just him being from Japan, they don't get a lot of MLB players from there. And the fact that he's one of the most entertaining and, in my opinion, one of the best players in the MLB is just a stat line to that.
And I don't want to take anything away from Ohtani. He had a tremendous season last year, and there's no question in my mind that Shohei Ohtani is, again, very exciting. But you look at Vladimir Guerrero and look what he brings to the Blue Jays club. A team that, a couple years ago was not in the conversation for a playoff berth. Now they're one of 4 teams to win that 90-game margin last year. They're probably underway to do that again this year. They're right now tops in the AL East. That's currently at 6-4. But I think as the season gets deeper and we see Vladimir Guerrero continue to show what he's capable of, he's a guy that's going to really prove himself and to really show why he is one of the best pure hitters in all of the game. And right now, you look at what he provides to a Blue Jays team that has a lot of other good players, and you look at what he provides to that division, especially with all the power hitting, on the Yankees, on the Red Sox, on the Rays, obviously. You don't want to take anything away from the Orioles, but those 4 teams right now are the 4 best, besides the Orioles. But again, Vladimir Guerrero is so talented all around. He's a guy that's going to be in the league for a long time and make a statement every year.
Well, I think Ohtani is going to be in the league for a long time too.
He will be too, yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think Guerrero is the better player than Ohtani, but I think the more entertaining player is Ohtani. I mean, I'm just looking at a stat right now. Shohei Ohtani is just the 5th player in the StatCast era to have batted a ball 119 plus miles per hour off the end of a bat. And just the fact that he's a pitcher, he's throwing on the mound during a game, and then he comes up to the plate and hits home runs. That's something that we've never seen before. And the fact that he was one of the leading home run hitters, people have done that before, but the fact that he was on the mound, he's a pitcher, it's just really an incredible thing to watch. That's why I think he's the most entertaining.
And as I was just pointing to, you just saw on the graphic there, the fact that he was on the MLB The Show graphic. That shows how exciting he is. But again, you talk about Vladimir Guerrero and what he brings. He's only 23 years old soon. I know Ohtani's young too, but the fact that Vladimir Guerrero is only 23 and he's already doing the things that he's been able to do, to me it shows how much he has still left to come. And the fact that he's providing kind of this he's from Montreal too. He's a guy who's from Montreal, a guy who's from that area as well. He's someone that's going to be in the league for a long time and really show, like I said earlier, about why he is one of the best pure hitters in the game. And there's no question to me that he's only going to continue to improve as time goes on, especially in a division loaded with so much talent.
Yeah, and I do think that Guerrero, yes, I completely agree with what you're saying. It's just Shohei Ohtani in one of his first couple seasons in the MLB has made it to the show cover, MLB The Show cover, and he also gets some of the most media attention out of any player in the MLB, in my opinion. You see him on Instagram, on all these ESPN highlight reels, so much for the crazy things that he's doing, and people love that, and that brings the MLB back to become one of the most entertaining leagues to watch, since people from our generation don't really enjoy watching it. It helps bring people back to the MLB with his entertaining play.
It really is a great sight to see. But that's going to do it for this debate against Shohei Ohtani and also Vladimir Guerrero, both nonetheless 2 very exciting players to watch as the league progresses through the season. But now we'll send over to Max for the closing on TakeaSide.
Thank you so much for tuning in for today's show. Before we go, be sure to create your own Sided account to be able to post debates of your own, as well as comment and vote on others' debates. Along with that, follow us on Instagram at TakeaSideKU, as well as our Twitter at TakeaSideKU for live streams, clips from the show, and other Sided content. That's all the time we have for today. For all of us here at TakeaSide, we'll see you next week.